What is up, guys? My name is Andrew and welcome back to Space Busters, the series where we try random things in space engineers to see if they're possible or not. So ever since last episode where we built a bunch of theme park rides to see if those were possible, there's been something I've been dying to do. One of the rides we built last episode was a centrifugal force ride, is what I call it. It's basically a spinny wheel of awesomeness, and if you stand in the middle of the wheel while it's spinning, you'll get pushed outward. See, when the wheel is spinning like this, and you're very dizzy from looking outside, if you jump up in the air, it spins you outwards. Kind of like that. If you jump up, it'll actually push you out of the thing, but even if you stand still, it'll kind of subtly push you towards the outside. So what that is centrifugal acceleration, and I didn't think it was possible in the game until last episode. So the natural next question is, can you do this in space to make artificial gravity, kind of like in the movies? Well, let's find out. Initiating teleport to space in 3, 2, 1. The Earth looks so nice from here. The only problem is that there's no gravity. If we try to stay in space for a long time, we're going to lose bone density and have all sorts of problems from lack of gravity. So how could we make gravity in space? Well, possibly the most suggested method for making gravity in space, according to sci-fi shows, is with centrifugal acceleration. The idea that if you spin something around, kind of like we did with that theme park ride over there, it'll create centrifugal acceleration pulling you toward the outside. And by spinning something around at a certain speed, you can create gravity. The faster you're spinning, the more force will pull you toward the outside, and the slower you're spinning, the less force will pull you toward the outside. So by tweaking that, theoretically, we could create a ship that has the same gravity as on Earth, just by spinning. And while I never thought this was possible in Space Engineers, neither did I think that ride was possible. But since we can do that one, can we do this one? Let's try it out. So what we're going to do, essentially, we're going to do this in time-lapse mode, so I'm just going to tell you initially, and then you'll be able to see it happening before your very eyes, like a magician. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a ship, and then on that ship, we're going to create a rotor system that's going to have basically a gigantic wheel, and that's where we're going to be testing our centrifugal acceleration. By the way, if I'm annoying you by pronouncing the word centrifugal wrong, let me know how it's really pronounced in the comments. All right, are you guys ready for the time-lapse? 3, 2, 1, let's go. Alright guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the time lapse. This is what we're left with. So we've got a ship in the middle that has no special characteristics. It's just a normal ship. And then in the middle we've got this rotor system which is going to act as our artificial gravity. So the ship is going to be it has no gravity. There are no gravity generators on board this thing at all. And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to spin this thing and generate artificial gravity that way. I've not tried this yet, so I do not know if it works, but we have some nice windows so we can see things when we're spinning. So this should be interesting. It will also probably make us dizzy, but it's fine. Alright, let me give you a little tour real quick. So on the inside of this thing, it's not very special. It's just kind of a normal ship. There's supposed to be a cockpit where it's supposed to be able to drive. I have no clue if it actually does. Yeah, no, it does not drive. So it's fine. That's not the main focus of our video. And then right here we have our rotors. Taking a look inside these things, we've got 4 little pillars, each going out to the area, to the gravity areas that are going to hopefully work. We could take either of these. The idea is that you'll take the ladder down like this, and you'll just keep climbing down until you get to the area, which is right here. So this is the first area with the centrifugal acceleration. We're going to be on this side right here. So this will be our walkway, and we'll be allowed to walk here. Now, we do have magnetic boots on. I don't know how to turn those off, but the way we'll be able to tell if our gravity is working properly is we'll jump up and we'll fall back to the ground instead of, floating up to the sky like this. So, and then we have a second level as well that we can test out. If we go down now, because gravity will be pulling us this way, our second level is right here, and we'll land on a window. And this one's much larger. The reason we have 2 levels is so that hopefully if it works, the second level will have a much higher gravity and pull us down faster because it will be going a little bit faster because it's a little bit farther out. And of course we have a nice view of the planet. Okay, are you guys ready to check this thing out and see if it works? I am ready. I really don't know what to expect. I think it probably will work, but again, I don't know if it will or not. So that's what we're here for. I am lost. I am hopelessly lost in my own ship. Okay, so we're going to start by turning it on in here. And we have a rotor that we can just turn on. It's called spin. Spin back is nothing. That's just the back part. But we're going to spin this. And so I'm not amazing with rotors. So both ships are actually going to spin. And it's going to be hilarious. So we're going to start with kind of a low velocity. And when I said both ships are going to spin, I mean this one's also going to spin with that one. So they're both actually spinning right now. You can see it right here. But as long as this main one right here is spinning, we can do the test. So you see how the outside is spinning much faster than the inside because it's because it's farther. You'd be going faster if you were out there. That's why the gravity will hopefully be higher there. All right, let's hop in and see how it works. We'll turn this on so we can see if it mentions any gravity. So it is pulling me. Well, it's not pulling me. I mean, I'm running into it. But let's get out here and turn off our thing. I would like to get oriented the proper way. And there we go. Okay, it's turned off completely. So if I jump up and fall back down, then it's artificial gravity. And it won't say it in the game because it probably won't recognize it. But jump up, and do we come back down? We do come back down. Jump up and back down. Jump up and back down. So normally in space, you would actually be, you would be, what am I trying to say? Normally in space, you just kind of float like I showed you before we turned this thing on. Now we're jumping up and we're falling right back down. Jump up and back down. So yeah, this is actually kind of cool. I wasn't sure if this would work as well as it is, but yeah, we're definitely jumping up and falling back down. Now you can actually see this thing spinning under us, and you can see why we're falling back down as well. It's because basically we're just running up and we're running back into the other thing as it spins. Maybe I'll draw a little diagram to explain this to you guys towards the end of the video. But yeah, it has to do with tangents and basically running back into the thing. But this is actually really cool. I want to go to... Oh, see? You saw that? We actually just went up there for a second and then we fell all the way back down. I thought we were going to start going up that way, but no, that's not the case. I wish I could turn off... If I press P, I wish I could turn off my magnet boots because then you could really see it. Because if I try to go like here, it's going to pull me because it thinks there's no gravity. Because according to the game, there isn't, but there's artificial gravity. Look at that. That's so cool. All right, let's go to the... Oh, shoot. This is going to be really hard. Let's go to the outside right here. And it's going to... Because we're using our jetpack... Here, let's actually turn off dampeners. That might make it easier. All right. And I want to check this one out. Okay, we have to orient ourselves the right way because it won't do it for us. Okay, so this one should pull us down faster, and let's see if that happens as well. Up and back down. Is it pulling us down faster? I think it might be. This is actually kind of cool. Let's see what the view from the outside looks like as we jump up and down. Yay! Artificial gravity! This is the artificial gravity dance. Oh, look at that. There goes the Earth. The beautiful, beautiful Earth. And now we're not losing any bone mass because we have gravity. This is cool. I wonder what our gravity would be. In fact, I bet we can calculate it if we calculate how fast we fall back to the ground and we calculate how high we're jumping. We could probably calculate what our gravity is right now, or what our artificial gravity is. Oh, there she is again. All right, let's turn it up. What do you guys think about that? Let's turn it up and see if our gravity, or artificial gravity, I guess, gets higher. Oh man, you're gonna want to have no damage on when you do this, because the game is not very fond about letting you navigate through this. But in space, you probably wouldn't really have much of a problem. All right, guys, we're gonna bump it up a little bit, so we're gonna go back to our spin. And we're going to bump that baby up. How high? This high. All the way. Max. Will it even do anything? I actually don't know if it'll go up that... because sometimes the rotors are limited by by something. I don't know what. But we'll bump up the torque too. And that might help it out a little bit. Okay, oh man. Yeah, it's definitely going. How fast is this going? Oh, it's going real fast. This would probably, I don't know, this is probably too fast. This will probably kill you in real life just because of how many G's you'd be getting. And again, we can calculate that once we get in there. Let's try and jump in. No, come on. Okay, we're in one. Oh man, I'm getting dizzy. Dizziness warning right here. Here, you know what? Oh, you see that? You can actually feel the gravity. I can't even pull myself towards that. It's too strong. I'm pulling myself towards that. Here, let's use the ladder. Hang on, can we even use the ladder? We can't even use the ladder. It won't let us. What have I done? Oh my god. Ah! Jesus. And landing. Nope. Okay. All right, let's go towards... Oh my god. Oh my god, look how fast we're spinning. I want to go towards one of those... Wait, we're not even on the outer one. Let's go to that one. This is a horrible idea. Let's see how fast we're... I need to get the grab boots on the ground. Okay, where's Earth? Oh, there she goes. Oh my god. All right, guys, so you can see that when we spin this thing a lot faster, the artificial gravity that we're getting is way, way higher than it was before. So we can't even jump, actually. That's how crazy it is. We are basically stuck on the ground. If I try to use my jetpack, we'll fly all over the place. Let's turn off our dampeners. We can't use our jetpack to get any higher. It just won't work. This is crazy. I can't believe... I was not expecting that we'd be able to replicate such high gravity with this thing. But yeah, definitely it's way too high for us to even move, and that's actually pretty awesome. Getting a look from the outside, this is what we look like. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. Alright guys, this is actually amazing. You can actually do artificial gravity in Space Engineers. I had no idea that this was possible. I had a little bit of a suspicion that it might be after the revelation with the theme park ride, that you can actually do centrifugal acceleration stuff. So this is really cool. We can check that one off of the list because it is definitely possible to do. Now, should you do it at this high speed? Probably not. And this is probably hypnotizing you guys right now. You should probably not do it at this high of a speed. And in fact, if you're doing it, it should be probably strictly a creative thing, because otherwise you're going to end up killing yourself with this multiple times. Oh my gosh. The game is not really meant to handle this. I mean, it handles it obviously, but when you're trying to fly around with the jetpack inside that thing, it's a bit tough. All right, now before we end this video, let's have a quick little discussion about how this works, in case you want to know. If you don't, you can end the video right now. Like and subscribe, happy face. All right, so let's talk about this. Okay, so this explanation is not really going to go in too much depth. To really understand how rotational artificial gravity works, you need to know a little bit about angular velocity and also a little bit about vectors and how those work. I'm not really going to go that much into detail in angular velocity and vectors because that's probably the job of an actual physics teacher, and I'm sure there's probably lots of websites out there that can teach you this stuff. It would take me forever. The basic stuff you need to know for this video is that while something is going around and around in a circle, it has two main forces acting upon it, and that's centripetal force and centrifugal force. So centripetal force is the force pulling it toward the center of the circle, and centrifugal force is the force pulling it away from the center of the circle. Additionally, if you have something flying around in a circle and it's no longer bound to the center, it's going to fly off in one direction called the tangent. The way to see this is if you have a rock on a string and you're waving it around and around in your head and you let go, it's going to go off in one direction, and that direction is the tangent. That's what that's called in math. Okay, finally, quick little explanation of vectors without going too in-depth. A vector is basically a direction with a magnitude. So it's basically like an arrow. The longer the arrow is, the bigger the magnitude. And the smaller the arrow is, the smaller the magnitude. And the arrow points at which direction it's going. That's a vector. So a quick little example, if you have one velocity vector going north at 20 meters per second, and you have a second velocity vector going south at 40 meters per second, your object is going to go south at 20 meters per second because they subtract each other. Okay, those are all the explanations you need to know. Let's go. So when we're standing in the circle here and we're going around and around and we jump up, how come we come back down? Why does that work when there's no gravity in space? Well, because what's actually happening is not really gravity. It's actually us jumping up and crashing back into the circle as we try to move in the tangent direction. Okay, that might not make sense, but let me break it down real quick. Okay, so when you're in gravity and you jump up in the air, you have two components of motion. So you have the initial speed that you're going up, and then you have the acceleration due to the planet's gravity, and that's pulling you down. So while your initial speed is going up, gravity quickly eats against that speed until you're going down, and that's why you fall back to the Earth. Try this at home by picking up a rock and throwing it up in the air and watching it come back down. But in space, you do not have the force due to gravity. So how come you come back down? In space, it's a little bit different. So when you're going around and around in a circle here, when you jump up in the air, you still have that same motion vector going up. However, you don't have the gravity pulling it back down, so it stays pointing up. It doesn't get any larger or smaller, it just stays pointing up because nothing's eating against it. However, you have a second vector, which you didn't have when you were in gravity. You have the motion vector of the tangent. That is, when you jump up, you're no longer being bound to the center of the circle, so you start going off in the tangent direction. Very similar to how the rock goes off in a random direction when you let go of the string. So you have your jump vector going up, and you have your tangent vector going in the direction that the tangent would go. So when two vectors are not actually acting against each other, you end up getting a vector somewhere in between. Since we're in space and there are no other forces acting against us, we're going to go off in that direction until some force does act against us. It could be forever. It's why people can float away in space, and it's very dangerous. But remember, the wheel is still stationary, so it's still spinning around exactly where it was. So what happens if we keep going in the direction that we're going into? We run right back into the wheel. Now to the wheel, it's a noble savior because we jumped up, started going off in a direction, and if the wheel weren't there, we would just keep going on forever. So the wheel has saved us from drifting off in space forever. But to us, it seemed like gravity because we jumped up and we landed right back where we were. So that's really all that there is to this rotational artificial gravity. In a basic sense, what you're doing is you're jumping up and crashing right back into another side of the wheel as it continues to spin. You're not being pulled down by anything. All you're doing is crashing into something. It just seems like you're being pulled down. And this might make sense because if you remember the first wheel we were going into, when we were jumping up and landing back on the wheel, it seemed a bit off, didn't it? Because it almost seemed like when we were jumping up, the wheel was actually moving under us. And that's exactly what was happening. It was. The only reason we came back to the ground is because we crashed back into it. Okay, so with that understood now, let's go back into the artificial gravity and see it again. Alright, so now that we sort of know how it works, let me show you this with the explanation in mind. So we're going at a very slow speed, and so we should have a much lower gravity as we jump up and down. Alright, let's set ourselves in the direction. So what we are right now is we're the ball on the string. We're being pulled with this. And in fact, it might be partially due to our mag boots, but that's not terribly important. But what's going to happen when we jump up is we're going to be freed from the string. And we're going to start going in the tangent direction. What you're going to see is you're going to see us kind of float towards and hit another part of the spinning wall. So let's go ahead and do it now. I don't actually know what direction are we going in. Okay, we're going that direction, so we're going that way. I think we're going to go this way, but let's try it. We're going to jump up, and you can actually see us come back, and boom, we're hitting this right here. So you see our speed is actually constant right now. Right now we're not bound, and there we go. We just hit the side of it. All right, so one thing you'll notice is if we jetpack our way to 0 meters per second and we just stay here, we'll never touch the wheel. The reason we'll never touch the wheel is because we're not moving, so we're never going to crash into the wheel like we do when we have a speed and we're going at the tangent of our spinning. So we're never going to touch this wheel right here below us. It's just always going to spin. We're not being affected by gravity because we're at a we're at a speed of 0. And that's exactly how it would work in space. If you could manage to get inside a spinning wheel like this and manage to get yourself to 0 speed relative to everything else, this is exactly what would happen. You would just never touch the sides, just like this. But the second the ship decides to move a little bit, it would run into you, and you would immediately get pulled by this gravity with friction. In fact, you know what? Let's prove one more point. In fact, let's stand on it the wrong way. Oops. There we go. Let's stand on it the wrong way. The gravity... See, actually, you can already see. The gravity is trying to pull us down that way. I'm trying to stand on it the wrong way, and it's just not doing it. And I keep saying gravity. It's not gravity. It's the centrifugal acceleration going on. There we go. It's pulling us this way. But see, even with this larger one, when we jump up, you can see us hit the side of it. We're not in the same place because we're not still following the circle. We're unbinding ourselves to the circle. But we're in a different place when we land because we're hitting it. Okay, guys, I think this was a really cool episode. I hope you understand a little bit more about how this artificial gravity system works, and maybe about how angular velocity works as well with tangents and that sort of thing. Fun stuff. Brings me back to my physics years. All right, but if you guys have any more questions about the science behind this, I'm sure there are a lot of people in the comments who are able to help you out, help you understand this a little bit better than I can, because I'm not always the best instructor when it comes to trying to explain things. But anyways, if you guys like this video, please hit the like button, put your comments and your suggestions down below in the comments section, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Space Busters.